you gotta have an identity in this business. Okay. For some of you guys that didn't raise your hands and didn't have 10 years experience, right, or 5 years experience, it becomes a little bit challenging, right? Because how simple is it to get a license, right? You got to understand what your identity is going to be, right? And you got to understand what position you're in, right? And you got to understand that there's benefits behind it, right? If you're going to take all the risks, right, like being an entrepreneur, why not enjoy all the benefits, right? Why not enjoy all the stuff that comes with being an entrepreneur? You know, and a lot of times we get a little bit confused. We get a little bit confused because when you are what I call as independent contractors, right? Nobody tells you, hey, you gotta make phone calls, hey, you gotta knock on doors, hey, you gotta, you know, do your ads, hey, you gotta go and do this, you gotta do all this different stuff, right? That is never on the real estate exam. That's what you're required to do to, you know, sell. Now in this business, we are what I call entrepreneurs. Okay, that should be your identity, right? An entrepreneur the definition is a risk taker, right? Now, let's compare an entrepreneur versus a person that's a W-2 wage earner, like the person I just described, which is McDonald's person, right? So the entrepreneur, right, doesn't get a steady paycheck like the McDonald's guys, right? So you got to understand, if you don't take risks, right? If you don't take risk, right, in this business, right, might as well go work at McDonald's because at least you're gonna get a paycheck there. You understand? Right? You're gonna every 2 weeks you're gonna get a paycheck. Over here, there is no guarantee that you're gonna get a paycheck. So what is risk, right? What is risk? You guys risked spending how much money? $300. Right? You grab $300 out of your pocket and you threw it out there. It didn't guarantee you that you're going to pass your exam, right? Right? Some of you guys passed the first time. Some of you guys took a couple times. You know, and so it wasn't a guarantee that you spend the $300, right? And then you pass, right? So that was a risk right there, right? So we just got to continue to take bigger risks. You know, whether it's door knocking, what are you risking there? Time, right? Maybe your shoes. They're gonna get worn out. You know, so there's a lot of stuff that you're not too much, you know, but time equals money as well, right? Time is money. Can you get more money if you work harder? Yeah, right? Can you get more time? Absolutely not. So you gotta value your time. You know, time is actually more important than money. You gotta have the discipline. Okay, that's what we're talking about. You gotta have the discipline. Because nobody here, right, in this business, I was talking to my friend Jesse Gogo here, right, earlier today, and he's like, man, I wanna get on the phone, so I wanna start doing my mojo and this and that. You know, he's motivated. He's motivated to do that himself. Nobody's telling, hey, Jesse, you gotta get on the phones, you gotta get on the, you know, start knocking them out. No, he's coming to tell me, he's like, hey, I wanna get this done. So you have to have that self-discipline. Right, you gotta do it. Right. Right. And then more important than anything, write this down, you gotta have a business plan. Okay, you gotta have a business plan. If you go work at McDonald's, they will have a plan for you, right? You check in at 8, you gotta sweep the floors at 8:15, you gotta pick up the trash at 8:30, you gotta check and make sure all the freaking tables are done. If you're the manager, you gotta check on this guy and that guy, make sure the food's there. You have a plan. You have a business plan. You work at Starbucks or McDonald's, wherever it is, they have a plan. You become in real estate, and all of a sudden, you just have 9, 10, 11 hours of your day. And you're trying to figure out what to do with it, right? And we have now so many distractions, right? You get distractions on your phone, you get distractions on the media, you get distractions everywhere you go. Your sister, your brother, your mom, your dad, right? There's all your kids. There's just a million distractions, right? So you gotta have the discipline. You gotta have the discipline. You gotta tune out the noise, right? And you gotta understand, what is my business plan, right? What does my business plan look like for 2022, right? A lot of us just write a 1-year business plan, okay? You've gotta understand this business, if you wanna make real money, you got to start writing 10, 15-year plans. And in your plan, you got to have what I call an exit strategy, okay? Unless you want to continue to sell real estate well into your 60s and your 70s and your 80s and your, I don't know how long you'll live, but trust me, you got to have an exit strategy. You got to have an exit plan. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you just repeat. Yeah. Real estate is like high school, okay? And most of you guys here went to high school. I don't know everybody's background. I'm just going to say that, right? And how many years in high school do you have? 4 years. So let's look at it this way, right? Freshman year, you're kind of like the nobody, right? Sophomore year, you kind of get to know more people, you got some friends, you kind of know your areas. Junior year, you kind of know a lot more people, and you're kind of the cool person, right? Your senior year, you're the man, right? Or the woman, right? So look at it like this in real estate, right? Let's say you get your license, right? 2022, right? Or you have your license 10 years, right? Let's say you start working with friends and family, right? Because that's the only people that are gonna trust you when you're brand new. Right? You go and meet with people, they're like, oh, she's brand new, I can totally tell. You can only get your friends and family to do business with you. And you get a little better, right? Sophomore year, you get a little better. All of a sudden now you're dealing with regular customers, you know what to tell them on the phone, you know how to sell them, you know how to close them, you're good, right? Your junior year, now you're looking at things a little bit better, right? Maybe you stop working with buyers, right? Maybe now you just want to work with sellers, right? You are continuing to graduate in what we call the real estate business, right? Because when you start, you become a buyer's agent. As you progress, you then become a listing agent. Why do you want to be a listing agent? Right? Let's say you decide to go to Cancun, beautiful weather in the month of August, right? And you are a buyer's agent, you've been kicking butt for the last 6 months, and you got 10 solid buyers ready to buy in this type of market, right? And let's say you are, that's scenario one. Scenario two, you are a listing agent, you got 10 listings, right? You go to Cancun, you leave for 10 days. You come back August 10th, right? What do you come back to? Where are my listing agents at? Right? You come back. Offers. Exactly. You got offers on the table, right? So you come back, you might have 5 of those listings sold, right? As a buyer's agent, you'd be lucky to have 5 of those buyers, right? They went with somebody else, right? They went and met someone at the open house, they tried to reach you, you were in the water. By the time you got back to them, they already made a deal. It's a done deal, right? It's happened to all of us, right? You gotta understand, don't do high school, guys. Don't be a freshman guy, understand where you're at. You gotta look at the way this business moves is you gotta keep progressing. And that's why I say when you do your business plan, you gotta understand, okay, this is where I'm at now. Where am I gonna be at in 5 years? Where am I gonna be at in 10 years? And more important than anything, where is it gonna end, right? Where is it gonna end? What is it gonna end like in 15 years? Or 20 years, right? So just to kind of give you just a little bit of a detail on the way I look at it, like let's go back to the high school thing, right? So junior year, let's say you say, you know what, I'm gonna start doing more listings, right? I can, with the listings, you control so much more of the inventory, right? You control what's coming in, you know before anybody knows what you got on the table, right? So your last year, right, of high school, you just become a full-time listing agent, right? Then now there's more opportunities for you. What other opportunities do you have? You can buy homes, you can invest in real estate, right? You're not ever going to go rich by saving, okay? You will never be rich by just saving, okay? You gotta understand in this business, and the reason why you're an entrepreneur, right? That is called a risk taker, right? Once you have the knowledge is not enough. You gotta be able to do something with that knowledge, right? You gotta learn to invest, okay? So your senior year, guess what? Maybe you start doing some flips, maybe you start doing some investing, right? You start taking care of your stuff. The number one thing you gotta have as a realtor is you gotta own your own home, guys. If you don't have that off the checklist, that's gotta be your number one priority, okay? So I know some of you guys are younger, some of you guys own homes, some of you guys don't own homes, okay? But that's gotta be the bread and butter. You can't be a salesperson selling properties and you don't own properties. Like I know my man Edmund, he does commercial real estate. Like I can't be a commercial guy, right? And I'm freaking paying rent, you know? It doesn't happen in that world. It's like you gotta be able to talk turkey with these guys, and you gotta be able to, you know, you gotta speak the same language, right? Otherwise, they just brush you to the side. You're just another sophomore real estate guy that's trying to talk his way into a commercial. Doesn't work that way. To be a commercial guy, it isn't any different. You don't have to have any other licenses, the same ones you have. So what you gotta have is the lingo, and you gotta have the knowledge, okay? So I'm trying to tell you guys, hey, don't repeat high school, guys. Don't repeat high school, okay? Have plans, have strategies, have a business plan for yourself. How many of you guys' money is working for you? Raise your hand. Come on now. Stocks, maybe. Right? If you even got money on stocks, you're making money without doing anything, right? Real estate, if you own any part of real estate in the last couple of years, you're making money without doing anything, right? I mean, it's equitable. You're not cashing out on it. Same thing with stocks, right? That's what I mean. Money is working for you. Your money is working for you, right? Like my money is working for me right now. Right? It allows me to be on the golf course if I want to, or work if I want to, right? I have an exit strategy. I've already achieved my exit strategy. Some of you guys that work here, you probably see me only 3-4 times a week, if that. It's because I choose to work. I don't need to work, okay? So I need you guys to understand you gotta have an exit strategy unless you choose to work for the rest of your life, which I've seen it. If you don't have an exit strategy, you don't have a business plan, it could happen to you, you know? So you gotta have a business plan, guys. You gotta have a finish line. And you gotta have your money working for you. Let me give you a definition on how your money works for you, right? And how you work for your money, right? And I'm going back and I'm trying to think like, trying to be in you guys' shoes. Some of you guys are a little younger, some of you guys are in the business a little longer. But let me just go in the middle, right? As you get more and more in this real estate game, one of the first investments that I want you guys to do is obviously your home. Another investment is cars, right? We're all in social media now. Cars are very flashy and they grab a lot of attention. You've seen some of the guys out there with expensive cars, right? Like $200,000-$300,000 car, right? And you're like, oh man, this guy is really, you know, killing the game, right? Let's look at one scenario, right? So let's say you are a flourishing agent and you're making $300,000. Will $300,000 be a pretty good number as a real estate agent? Raise your hands, yes or no?
Yes.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. You've only been in the business for freaking 3 to 5 years. $300,000. It's not bad. Who makes $300,000? Doctors, right? How long does it take to go to school to be a doctor? Can you get a degree as a doctor and with $500?
No.
No, right? You got to go to school for how long?
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, right? And you got to get in millions of dollars worth of debt, right? And then your salary is $300,000, maybe, you know, if you're a good scholar. So think about the opportunity being back to the entrepreneur side, right? Where you want to be at. So a guy who's like 25, 30, gets in the real estate business, makes $300,000, starts buying all kinds of stuff, right? Goes and buys an expensive car. Right? Let's look at that scenario, right? Let's look at scenario 2. Person, you know, that's in the same real estate game, grabs that $100,000, puts it on the house, right? That's your money working for you, right? You put it in, now all of a sudden maybe you decide to rent it, maybe you get $400, $500, $600 return every month. Maybe you don't, maybe it's just a wash and you enjoy the equity. What do you get when you own a house? You get tax, and that's what we're gonna get to right now. You get a lot of tax benefits, okay? Because if you're making $300,000, most of most of the people here work at Dynasty, which I'm considered what, your broker, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people think they work for me. Not really. You guys are all independent contractors. I'm just the guy that I'll have to take a phone call just in case you guys get in trouble. Okay? So, you gotta understand, we all work for one guy. That's Uncle Sam. Okay? Uncle Sam, we work. It doesn't matter what you do. For every dollar you make, you gotta pay him his share. Okay? And you make sure that, get this right. The philosophy should be, you should be happy to pay taxes. Because you made money. Okay? People that are upset about paying taxes is because they don't make money. And they just like to talk about it. Right? But go to other places in the world and you see what happens when they don't pay taxes. Okay? Guess what? They don't have nice streets like us. They can't go to the beach like we do and enjoy a beautiful beach with no trash and debris. Right? There's a lot of benefits of that. So I am a proud taxpayer, and I would pay whatever it takes because there's a lot of money involved here. You can make way more money than what you're going to pay in taxes. So back to what I was saying. I want you to understand the definition of having your money work for you or you working for your money. Right? You got a person that's going to tighten up, buy a house, maybe not so flashy, right? You see a person, you're like, hey, how you doing? I'm doing good. I just bought my house. You know, spend pretty much all his savings, put it in there. And I'm going to get to what I call savings, income, and investing in a second, right? And, you know, maybe not so flashy, so and so, right? Someone rolls up with a brand new freaking Lamborghini. You're like, oh my God, this guy's killing it, right? Jesus, what do you do? Where did you get this? A totally different vibe, right? Right? But what does the guy with the Lamborghini do? Right? He puts $100,000. He gets all this exposure, which you better maximize that fucking exposure, okay? Because trust me, you just bought a depreciation asset, right? That thing is worth $300,000. You'd be lucky if it's worth 70 grand in 7 years, right? And plus, is a freaking big expense, maintenance, all that stuff. So think about it, right? Remember I told you guys, when you do your business plans, don't do them for 1 year, 5, 10, 15. So we're gonna analyze the person that made the $100,000 investment. We go back 10 years, right? If you bought a house with $100,000 down 10 years ago, what do you think the house is worth? Double? Easy, right? Double or triple, right? You bought a Lamborghini 10 years ago, that thing's worth 70 grand, right? And then what do you gotta do every month? Payments, right? So are you working for your money, right? With the Lamborghini, yeah, right? Versus your money's working for you with a solid investment, right? Now, investing is not all guaranteed. Some investments go bad, some investments go good. But I'm gonna go on a limb, and I'm gonna say if you make investments in real estate, right, and you take the long approach, you're gonna be well off. Okay, you're gonna be more than well off. Okay, and you're gonna wish you would buy 10 of these, like I do. So you gotta understand income, savings, investing, right? I give you guys the formula of income right now. You gotta be an entrepreneur. You gotta be a risk taker. You cannot repeat high school more than once. You gotta continue and flourish in this business. There's other opportunities, okay? But what happens a lot of the times is when we develop income, right? And then we put it in this savings account, a lot of us get what I call alligator arms. So what happens with the alligators? They can't reach in their what? In their pockets, right? So they can't reach in their pockets, right? Now, you've been around those guys. They're like, it's time to pay the tab. Like, hey, hold on, guys. I only brought $20. Cover the rest, you know. And it's just a metaphor. What I'm trying to get to is you got to have a business plan, right? And a lot of the times what happens is that when you're in this business and you're starting out and you make money, right? You make 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, whatever it is, right? You build a savings account, right? Right? And it makes you feel good and warm and fuzzy, right? You wake up every day, oh, okay, I got money, yeehaw, right? Listen, you gotta understand, the money that you have, the money that you're saving, it has to be used as a weapon, right? You gotta use that as a tool. You can't just sit on it and look at it every day and be like, oh, that's nice to have. Oh, gee, You know, I don't have to work for 6 months, you know, or a year or 2 years or whatever, right? You gotta use your money as a weapon. It cannot be zero attached. Now, there's a gray area, right? Don't go spending all your money, right? There's gotta have a balance, right? I have a formula that basically says 12 months, right? If you got 12 months worth of reserves and the rest you should just unload it, right? Use it the best way to leverage it, okay? Income, savings, investing. That is your formula. Income, savings, investing. Do not get alligator arms when it comes to investing, okay? If you wanna be broke, don't invest. Just have the savings, you'll see what happens to your savings. It'll eventually dwindle down, okay? Or you might just pad enough, but guess what? Inflation will kick your ass. Inflation will kick your ass. The cost of living in California is expensive. It'll just kick your ass. You gotta make chunks. You gotta understand where the chunks are at. And you're only gonna make chunks when you make real estate investments, commercial investments, whatever investments that you're good at, okay? I'm gonna give you guys some formulas as far as how to avoid paying taxes, right? Because once you've built this formula, right, you become a kick-ass agent and you start making $300,000-$400,000. Remember, you're in cahoots with Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is gonna want a big fortune for that, okay? About 25-30% of that. Uncle Sam loves young entrepreneurs, right? Because he knows that you guys are gonna start making money, right? He knows that you're gonna hit 100,000. Then he knows you're gonna want 200, 300. I don't ever tell you if you make 400,000, your tax rate now goes up and balloons up almost to 40%. Okay, so your 400,000 really became 280,000, right? And then you can't really write off all these expenses because about 6 years ago, Trump took them all away, right? He basically said, I don't trust these guys. These guys cheat on their taxes. We're gonna take all this stuff out, right? He took all your meals, he took all your expenses, he took them all out. He left them on the corporation side, right? Because why? He freaking has freaking corporate. He's corporate world, right? That's how they avoid paying taxes. I don't make money. My company makes money. That's why I got a helicopter and a plane and all of that. I don't own the plane and the helicopter. My corporation owns the plane and helicopter. I just get to ride around the world with them, you know? And that's how they do it. So you gotta understand, once you make money, now let me start by telling you, if you're making less than $100,000, it's not necessary for you to get a corporation, okay? Because you just don't have enough funds, okay? That's my recommendation. You know, if you want to do it, that's fine. But if you're making more than 200, I think you absolutely need to have a corporation, okay? And I think that's, you draw the line based on your expenses, okay? Where can you get a corporation? Anybody know?
The state of California.
I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about where you're gonna be able to buy one.
Oh.
Like who can you go to get one? Let's say you want a corporation tomorrow, it's gonna be Edmunds Corporate. Where can you go? An attorney, yes, right? There's this place called LegalZoom, right? Right when I did it, I used to have to pay like $3,000. You can go to LegalZoom and get yours for under $1,000, I guarantee it, okay? And they will apply for you, make sure that nobody else has that name, right? And you can get a legal corporation. Now, why do you want a separate corporation? Down to your taxes, right? As an individual, when you start making more than, let's say, $160,000, right? You can't write off enough stuff, okay? Like if you make $200,000, okay, you can write off quite a bit of stuff, right? There's your taxes, obviously you pay. If you own a home and you got stuff to write it down, and you got to be able to play this game the right way, okay? If you don't pay taxes, nobody's going to lend you any money. You understand? You need to play the game till you get to that number. right? So you get to that number, you gotta play the game. Once you get to that number, then you can scale it back and you can then massage it a little bit based on what you need at that particular time. Why do we want a corporation? Again, we're talking about if you're making more than $200,000, you definitely want to have a corporation. So what is the benefit of a corporation? All right. Again, I keep repeating myself. There's got to be enough income, right? So let's say, I'm going to use one of you guys as an example. Let's say Karina, right, starts kicking some ass, and she starts making, I can tell. And I actually go to people. I go to people and say like, hey dude, I noticed you're killing it. You're making $300,000-$400,000. You need to adjust your business plan because the only person that's happier than me is Uncle Sam. Okay, and he's happier because he probably makes more money because I give you guys a terrific deal. Okay, he doesn't. He's getting 20%. So once you have that establishment, what you want to do is you want to start saying, Karina's going to go to me and say, Chris, as of 2022, please start running everything under my corporation. Is Karina's corporation, Karina's Homes Corporation. I said, okay, no problem. Go get this notarized, get this signed, boom, rock and roll. So every check now that she gets is going to go into her corporation, right? So now her corporation starts earning income, right? Karina doesn't make any money. The corporation makes money, right? Now, the next step is what you want to do is you want to get a corporate credit card, okay? You want to get a corporate credit card because you want to run all your business expenses through the corporate credit card because they are a tax deduction. Let's say Karina decides to take all her friends to Fleming's. Right? She says, hey girls, we're gonna go after the class, we're gonna go treat it's on me, I just closed 3 deals this month, let's go. Right? And she writes a big fat check or swipes a big bill of $1,200, right? Really goes out, right? Guess what? She just has a tax deduction, right? And that is 100% tax deduction, right? That meal just deferred her taxes by $1,200. You get credited for every dollar you spend for meals when you're in the corporate world. Let's say she decides to go to Hawaii, right? She goes, hey girls, we're gonna go to Hawaii, hang out. Business expenses. Okay, now I am not a tax accountant. I can only speak on my behalf, and I'll gladly show you my credit card statement. It is $500,000 a year, okay? So that's how much money I blow, okay? Not because I want to, because I have to, okay? Because otherwise, what happens? I have to pay taxes, right? So either I spend the money or I pay the taxes. Now, you want to go to Hawaii on Uncle Sam? Right? And you're going to fly what? First class? Right? You stay in a cheap resort? No? All right, we're going to dinner on that Saturday too. Right? You got to understand the way the game is played, guys. Okay. Once you reach a certain level, you want to start incorporating because you still have all the tax benefits. You guys see that brand new Porsche? Yeah. I don't pay for it. Uncle Sam pays for that. Yeah. I don't pay gas either. So that thing is like free, right? You got to understand the way the game is played. Okay, unless you want to pay a giant amount of taxes. Okay, so you got to find out what your balance is. And what I'm saying is don't try to cheat the system and not pay your taxes. What I'm trying to say is that you got to be smart with your expenses. Okay, and if you know you're going to make income, right? You know you're going to make income, right? Because you got to deficit your expenses so that they all add up, right? The bottom line is either you're going to write a big fat check to Uncle Sam or you're going to have a lot more business expenses that offsets it, okay? Now, I don't come up with the rules. I'm just trying to tell you guys how the game is played. You got to have a corporation if you have sufficient enough income because you can then use all the expenses, right? And once you do that, then you go ahead and start separating your expenses by having a corporate credit card and you put yourself on a W-2, you will pay some taxes, but guess what? You pay taxes as you go. So every freaking 2 weeks, you get check here, check there. Some of it goes to Uncle Sam, some of it goes to you, and guess what? At the end of the year, April 15th, you might not have to write a check. Maybe, guess what? Maybe you get some money back, right? Not like 99% of the realtors out here. I almost guarantee you. One of the major things of being as an entrepreneur is you have to be able to invest money on yourself, right? Daily, right? And what I mean money doesn't necessarily mean like go and spend clothes or any of that stuff. It just means you gotta be able to feed your mind, okay? Good stuff. So you gotta make adjustments, okay? Because nothing is gonna change unless you are willing to change, okay? Everything's gonna stay the same unless you say, you know what, I had enough. I'm gonna make a change. I'm gonna make this happen. I have my 5-year plan, I have my 10-year plan. We're gonna start today, we're gonna start rocking and rolling, and I'm gonna start making changes daily, right? So that I can continue on this path and I can be done in 15 years, right? And you gotta be consistent. You gotta be consistent. So every day, I need you guys to feed positive thoughts into your mind. Listen, nobody's gonna come and put information in your brain. You gotta go and get this information, guys. You gotta go and get it, right? And the beautiful thing about it is that it's all on your fingertips. You choose whether you wanna listen to some country music or hip hop, but I can almost guarantee you ain't gonna make money by listening to today's rap show or whatever it is you wanna listen to. You're not, okay? You gotta be able to use your time wisely. You gotta be able to use that 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes and get something out of it. If you wanna get ahead, if you wanna, keep going, if you wanna be consistent, it's not easy, okay? It's easy. It's not easy. And my mentor always said it's easy to do and easy not to do. You make the decision, okay? So, because balance to me is the most important thing. One of the most important things, right? Because you can have a lot of money, right? And put that in the chart of finances. So let's say we have a wheel here, right? And then here's the center, and this is your finances being at 10. So boom, you're here at 10, right? Ooh, you're kicking ass, you're making that $500,000 like I just mentioned. Right? And then here, let's say is your family, right? You got a wife, kids, girlfriend, mom, dad, brother, sister, right? And let's say, well, you had to sacrifice so much that your family is not quite at a 10, it's at a 5, right? And then let's say here is your body, right? Because listen, you can have all the money in the world, if you don't have your health, it don't matter. Zero, zilch. You'll be glad to pay whatever dollar amount to get it back. But when you do, it's too late. When you lose your health, it's too late, guys. You got to take care of it before it happens. When it happens, it's already too late. You're going to be handicapped to some degree. So back to that circle again, right? So let's say your health is at 5 or at 6 because you are deferring so much, right? Instead of freaking eating salads, all of a sudden you're making drive-through to McDonald's. Instead of drinking enough water, you freaking grab a soda pop. And hang out with the boys, drink a couple beers, and so on, right? We all been there. So it's here, right? So if you think about it, right, what does your wheel, what I call your wheel, look like, right? You got your finances, you got your family, you got your health, you got your business, it's gotta be a smooth ride. Right? Because if the wheel is really good financing, but really shitty freaking health, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. You're gonna be able to go here, boom, and guess what? Oh, I gotta go see my doctor. I gotta take my medication. I gotta go, So you gotta have balance. You gotta have balance. You gotta understand, like it all works together, right? You're gonna have all the money in the world, right? And you have all your health, but guess what? You don't have a good relationship with your family. Your kids don't see you. You don't talk to your kids. It's not gonna flow. It's not gonna go well. Okay? You're gonna be miserable. Okay? So you gotta understand. You gotta have balance wherever it is. Whether there's a 10, hopefully in every section, and you're steamrolling, right? Because you got a perfect wheel. You can go 90 miles an hour on the freeway, right? Or it's a 5, and you go 50 miles an hour. You know, the bottom line is you gotta have the proper balance. If you wanna do this in the long term, you gotta have the proper balance. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna be able to sustain this for a very short period of time. Because when it's bumpy, right, you can maybe go and you whoa, 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 but you're gonna eventually it's gonna suck, and you're gonna want no part of it. Okay. So work on that. Work on the balance. Work on your health. Work on your mind. Work on your fitness. Work on your business. Most importantly, work on your family, because your family is very important. The most important thing, because that's the only thing we have. So that is my class for today, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.